All right. Hey, everybody. Word of warning, they ran out of Grande cups down at the Starbucks. They gave me a venti, so no telling what's about to happen. All right. I'm A.M. Grobelny. I'm here to talk to you all about AWS GameDay. We're going to actually be solving something live today, which optionally all of you can work along with me. So we're going to have a slide up here in just a minute. I'm in slides for like 5 minutes, and then I promise I'm out of them. And we're going to be solving problems, all right? Maybe creating some problems too. I'm very good at that. That's one of my talents. Anyways, I want to tell you a little bit. I got to set the stage before we jump in on this thing that I work on called AWS GameDay. There's a whole team. They do a lot more than I do. I come out and talk to all y'all about it. They do the real work. But we built this thing called GameDay about 10 years ago. I'll give you, you can read this while I talk. I hate slides like this personally because there's a bunch of text on here and you're not listening to me anymore. I know it. It's fine. But normally when we run a game day, we gather you all up. First of all, thank you for coming. I've done a bunch of these, but always assume that the room will be empty. So very happy that you all are here. If you can't tell by my shirt, it's on brand for me to assume that no one will show up. Anyway, this is supposed to be a fun team building, confidence building exercise, right? And so usually what we do is we put you all into teams. We have a scoreboard. It gets very heated, very competitive. People have flipped tables. I'm only kind of joking about that. And you get immersed in a simulator. I like to think of it as a danger room if you're an X-Man fan. But it's just a simulator for experiencing the things that you're going to go out and experience in your real jobs, right? So if you're not this person, I know all of us in here have probably heard from this person. There's somebody out there, you may be that person, who has experienced the monumental outage or the monumental attack or the thing that they, talk about at, happy hour, every happy hour that comes up. You'll never believe what happened to me, right? Those are life-changing moments. Those are incredibly wonderful moments for building resilience within you, but they're hard to come by, right? And most people don't actively seek out those types of experiences. So what we did, we said, let's build that. Let's build a simulator for that, right? Let's go in and take those feelings that you get when our website's down and we don't know why. It's encrypted. What happened? Figuring that out, learning from that in the moment, it's difficult. So we thought, what if we built something that let you do that without the pressure of, your company losing hundreds of thousands of dollars while that's ongoing and it being 4 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, you all probably didn't know this, but you are now employed. If you weren't, all of your other jobs are gone now. You are now wonderful new employees of Unicorn.Rentals. So when you come to a game day, you are hired immediately to Unicorn.Rentals, which is the premier startup for the legendary animal rental market. It's a very hot market. We are the leaders, so that's good. You're joining a leading company. That's nice. I am an employee also. I'm the head of Vibes, which I'm way too old to have that title, but you take what you get, right? So Unicorn.Rentals is your new employment center, right? You are employees now. Today we'll be security engineers at Unicorn.Rentals. Here's the problem, though. Our CEO kind of misunderstood something, right? The cybersecurity team at Unicorn.Rentals, which are no longer there, it was one person, and they won the lottery, so we haven't seen them since. It's fine, though. But they had told our CEO that job zero was security. And our CEO, not being an engineer, didn't know about zero indexing. So they deprioritized security. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're all here. You got a lot of problems that you're about to come in and help us fix. Because we didn't have security at Unicorn.Rentals. And now we do. Now we've got all of you. All right. Unfortunately, though, you're joining at a time where we are under active attack. So, yeah, we're going to have to figure some things out on the fly. There aren't really any run books. Maybe there's some documentation. We'll figure it out as we go, yeah? All right. If you would like to join me, if you have a computer, or you can take a picture and join me later, I'm going to put up real quick. This is how you join the event that I set up. And when I say the event that I set up, what you get access to is your own AWS account that has a bunch of stuff already deployed out to it. Some of this stuff's not that great. It hasn't been engineered correctly. So it's our job to fix it. But if you would like to participate alongside with me, we're going to be fixing one of these challenges together. There are 3 other challenges that I've deployed out, and this will stay around for a few hours, after this talk is over. So I'll try and keep it up for as long as I can, but expect it to be terminated before the end of the day. All right. Everybody good? All right. If you're not, I can go back. That's just in case you couldn't get access to the link. If you are going to play along, this is what it's going to look like. I'll show you this in real time, too, in just a few minutes. You enter the access code. You shouldn't have to do that with the link. It should automatically do that for you. You can join with an email. It'll send you a login, and then you just agree to the terms. Of course, read them all as I'm talking. Stop listening again to me and read those terms. Then we're going to utilize on that page that we log into. We got some credentials down here at the bottom. We'll log in, and we'll see the GameDay UI. Again, I'll take you through all this in just a minute. Like I said, you'll also have access to the AWS console. A bunch of this stuff will have already existing infrastructure in there that we're going to take a look at. So here's the UI. Actually, I'm just going to drop in now and show you some of this. How about that? All right. So once you've logged in, you'll get a screen that looks like this. This is my team. I'm playing alongside all of y'all. Like I said, there's a scoreboard too, so just saying. Might be interesting to see who's at the top of that scoreboard. To log in, you'll open this link. You will fill in team number, whatever you have, the team password. You all now have my team password, which is great. An added challenge for me. You can come in and really mess with stuff if you'd like. All right, once you log in, this is the GameDay UI. This is where we're going to get our instructions. Okay, I said we've got 4 quests here. The event survey is a little added bonus. You can tell me how I did. If you have positive feedback, feel free to open it up. If you have negative feedback, you don't have to open it. It's up to you. You can, of course. Only joking. I take all feedback. But we're going to be working today on forensics analysis. All right, so what does that mean? Well, the details of our quest here say that some of our instances have been crypto locked. All right, so we're running some servers. Somebody somehow got access to those servers and has encrypted everything. Sounds fun, right? So I'm going to click Start Quest, and we're just going to get into it. We're going to start solving. We're going to start looking, start assessing. So this is just like the real world in terms of if you are under active attack, right? That is when you start gathering information, right, and trying to contain the attack. If you'd like a more formal method of looking at this, I've pulled up, we've got a bunch of really great resources for our own security incident response teams. They've put these together. I have not, so you can trust them. They're very good. I was not involved in this, so you know they're top-notch. Only kidding. But this is a good outline of how you will respond to security incidents if you follow this style of playbook, the one that we use at AWS. We're going to be focused today on detection and analysis and the containment, eradication, and recovery part. And we're going to learn a lot about containment. And I want to point this out early. We're already losing points. All right, so pressure is on. We've lost 30 points already. As you get to know me, you'll learn I talk a lot. That point number is going to go down a lot before we get it going back up, all right? It frustrates a lot of people that end up on teams with me during game day events because I want to talk about this stuff more than I want to fix it sometimes. All right, so if you're playing along at home, we already learned we have a website, right? We heard that something is crypto locked. So we've got a fleet of EC2 instances. I'm just going to summarize some of this text for you. Again, I know you're reading this now. We've got a ransomware message this morning. We've been hacked. Great. Okay. Unicoins. I don't have any unicoins. Does anybody have any unicoins that we could just pay this with and we'll be done, right? Probably not. Okay. Oh, sorry. We're not going to pay. Our CEO wrote that. Should have known that. All right, so we need some sort of forensics analysis to prevent being targeted again, but we're also in the middle of an attack, yeah? So they've given us a link here. We've got two EC2 instances, which are pretty basic compute units in AWS. If you're not familiar with AWS, an EC2 instance is basic like a VM where you can deploy a server, can do almost anything that a compute instance can do. But we've also got an auto-scaling group, which is a nice thing you can wrap around these EC2 instances to manage provisioning them out if you hit scaling issues or resiliency issues. And then we have a load balancer, it says. So if you're unfamiliar with load balancers, right, that's sitting in front of all of these things for when I go and type in the website URL, so it figures out which EC2 instance to send it to, not me, right? I don't have to figure that out. But they gave us a link to the load balancer. Let's check out our attack, shall we? Let's see what we're getting. Oh, yeah. Look at that. As you can see, this is telltale signs of encrypted content, right? Like this has been encrypted. All right, great. That's probably not what we want on our consumer-facing website, I would guess. Right? Okay. Oh, right, good. Okay, thank you. I'm new here too. I haven't worked for Unicorn.Rentals very long. We all got hired today, so I appreciate the understanding. All right. So we need to, they gave us, is it fair to call this a run book? They gave us 3 steps. This is kind of a run book, right? It's the beginnings of a run book. If you've never worked in security before, right, our run books are how we go in and respond to incidents. We come in, we follow the steps that are outlined based off of the learnings that we have as a team. I'll be generous. Let's call this a run book. We need to isolate one of the compromised instances. We need to stop the attack, restore our website. Okay. Let's see. So I mentioned we get access to an AWS console. If you're playing along, you'll come back to that Workshop Studio link that you logged into originally, and you can open your console right here. That's all you got to do. There's a link right over here on the left-hand side. And that will log us in to the AWS console. And this is where things are deployed. Our website is in here. So first of all, it gave us some areas to maybe go gather some information, right? Who remembers? We just looked at it. Where should I go first? Let me ask you all that. Let me put it to you. Yeah. All right. I heard it. I heard it out there. Let's go look at EC2. Okay. So we'll see what's deployed. Oh, we've got, let me make that a little bigger for you. 6 instances. 6 instances here. Okay. This is great. I don't think we named it pay to decrypt. What do y'all think? It's probably, it could be a fun prank. I don't know. But no, probably not. All right, so we've got a bunch of encrypted instances here. And we've got 2 instances that seem maybe not to be encrypted. All right, this is the beauty of GameDay. I'm getting you all a little preview for if you go in and take on these challenges after we part. You can solve this however you want, right? Your brain's probably already going, well, okay, how do I figure out how these instances got encrypted, right? There's a couple things that we can do. Let me list some mitigation tactics for you here, right? So number 1, this is a networked instance, right? We learned that there's a load balancer sitting in front of it. That's probably a good place to start, right? So load balancers typically have logs, right? And what is a security person's best friend? Logs, yeah, right? It's my best friend, at least. Who doesn't love, it's Friday night. You've got a nice fire going. You've printed out all of your logs. Sitting there, reading all night, yeah? Okay, so we can go investigate from a networking perspective what's going on. So in AWS specifically, there's a few different networking aspects that you would want to investigate, right? We already mentioned that load balancer. There's also where all of these things sit inside of, which is called a VPC, right? Virtual Private Cloud. It is like your network isolation unit. You can think of it that way. So there's such a thing called VPC flow logs, which captures all traffic, right? So again, maybe you want to check that out. There's these instances themselves. I don't know if you're like me, I like getting into the thing, right? Maybe we should actually go in and investigate on the instances themselves, right? So there's a lot of different ways to approach this problem. Let's start with the load balancer, since that's called out specifically by our team that is helping us mitigate this, right? So there's 2 instances launched by an auto-scaling group behind a load balancer. That tells me I'm going to go check out that load balancer. I already happen to know we're in the right place. Load balancers are stored also under EC2. Coming in here. All right. Let's see. Sure enough. Ooh, there we go. We've got ourselves a load balancer. Okay. Do we have logs? Well, let's check under monitoring. Maybe that would be a good place to look. Not seeing logs here. Seeing a bunch of metrics. That's good. Security groups. Okay. That's not what we're looking for either. Well, without knowing more about how to set up logs, or if we have logs, maybe we should turn to the instances. What do y'all think? Yeah? Okay, let's go back to the instances. Okay, I'm going to show you all a really neat thing about AWS. I really enjoy this a lot. If you've ever had to work with servers, I'm sure you've SSH'd into a server before. Yep, yeah. You've got to manage keys. You've got to manage, having the right permissions in terms of IP addresses, being able to SSH into them. You don't have to. You don't have to if you've got Systems Manager deployed out onto your instances, which a lot of the AWS images that are used on EC2 already have all that set up for us. So I can actually just click this connect button, and I can use this thing called Session Manager. I can come in and, oh, there we go. I got a shell into my box. I didn't have to SSH. I didn't have to do anything locally. Let's see. I'm trying to make it reasonably large enough. All right. We got a bunch of stuff in here. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. All right. So I just moved to the root, right? I changed directories into the root. And we've got a bunch of folders here. Anybody see anything that sticks out immediately? I heard it. Say it a little louder. Website. Yeah. All right. What's in there? Oh, okay. We do have logs here, don't we? At least we have a file named .log. Is it logs? There's only one way to know. Let's find out. Oh, I didn't do. Come on. There we go. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, we're getting a bunch of logs here. This is not good. I don't know if this is supposed to happen, actually. Look at... What do y'all see here? That looks like it's encrypting, doesn't it? Oh. Okay. Conveniently, too, there's something right above that, something called /backdoor. It's pretty nice of the attackers to name it that, isn't it? Okay, well, interesting. So it seems like we've got maybe an attack vector here, don't we? We can see that they're sending messages with a query parameter string, right? So /backdoor command equals echo success. What does that feel like? It feels like maybe they're executing arbitrary shell commands on our server, yeah? Is that what you were thinking? That's what I was thinking. I don't know. Am I off base? What do you think? Oh, I got a thumbs up. That's okay. All right, that's all I need. I got a thumbs up. All right, yeah, it looks like somehow they are able to now execute shell commands on our server. How do we stop this? All right, so it's coming in over the internet, yeah. This was actually step one, wasn't it? We kind of didn't do step one of our run book, did we? I went into information gathering mode, right? Let's go back and read our run. This is why it's a run book. I told you this is technically a run book, I think. Isolate one of the compromised instances. We didn't do that yet, did we? That's why run books are important. Okay. All right. So how do we isolate this thing? Let's go look at the EC2 instances themselves. All right, so I'll give you a little hint here. The EC2 instances themselves have what we call security groups. All right, a security group is, you can think of it as like a gateway, like somebody sitting outside of the door saying, okay, I've been giving it a list of people who can come in. Are you on that list, right? So our security group has port 80 over TCP with this source o.o.o.o/o. This might, if you're unfamiliar, haven't used AWS before, that route, that means the internet. That means everybody, right? So that's how you signify, let everybody in over that port, which this makes sense, yeah? If you're running a website, what's port 80 for? HTTP, yeah, that's what serves websites, right? So this makes sense. However, we just saw they're using HTTP to conduct the attack, yeah? So what do you say we change this security group, shall we? All right, I've got another thumbs up. I'm loving the thumbs up, by the way. It really gives me immediate feedback on how I'm doing. Oh, I got double thumbs up now? That's excessive. I'm sorry. That's too much. I'm overwhelmed by that. All right. Okay, so let's go through creating a security group real quick. So our outbound rules are just everything. Our inbound rules are just port 80. We want to isolate it entirely. So that means nothing, right? So let's create a security group. All right, so I was already in the right place, EC2, but this is a good little piece of advice if you are new to AWS and working in the console. Number one, you probably won't be working in the console for very long. Most teams will automate a lot of these types of changes through things like infrastructure as code, other best practices. But if you're just getting started, just learning, console's great too. You can come in and learn about it. But you can always use that search bar at the top. If you know the name of the service you're looking for or a feature of a service, oftentimes it'll take you right where you need to go. That just took us to security groups, which we want to create one. We don't want any traffic, do we? So let's remove that. We have no inbound rules. That's great. We need to give it a name. I'll just call it the isolated group and say this is for naughty instances, obviously, right? They can't talk to anybody else. Okay, I'm going to delete this rule. We've got no rules, nothing. Nothing is allowed. Create security group. We're all set there. Okay. Coming back to our security group, we're going to go in and we're going to edit the security, change the security group. All right, we should be able to select our isolated group there and save. Well, let's see if I might have been clicking a little too fast there, but we'll find out. All right, I don't even remember which instance I did there. So when you are playing a game day, there's a lot of philosophies. You could probably guess my philosophy. There's a lot of philosophies on strategizing with your team. Some people like to go read the documentation, only make changes when they know that the change is going to be the correct change. That's not me. You don't want me on your team if that's your philosophy. Mine is the YOLO method, I like to call it. You just throw it out there. You see what happens. Especially since this is game day. This is controlled environment, right? You're not going to break anything here. I mean, you can. And you can irrevocably break things for your team, actually. You can make it so that we have to give you a whole new team, which happens all the time. But that's okay, because you're learning by breaking, right? So let's see. Did I get this one changed? Let's go to security. No, I didn't change either of them. Great. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. It was a teaching moment. Let me remove that one. I didn't click add. All right. So now, if we go back and give this a minute, it should update and tell us that we have isolated an instance. All right, so that's step one. We still got an instance out there running, don't we? And our website is still encrypted. So we haven't done a lot. We've isolated it. It feels good. Yeah? All right. The score is not reflective of that either. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. I definitely, it actually does give me a moment to give you another little insight about the GameDay platform. So as we're losing points together, collectively, when we gain points, I gain them. But when we lose them, we all lose them. That's how this team works. Now, we give you little visual indicators of why you're losing points. So if you ever are lost in a game day, if you ever get to play in one of these competitive game days, this is another great place to go to. I clicked on the score events here. So this is telling us we're losing points because the instance is not isolated, the website's not restored, and the website is still technically under attack. All right, let's see if I bought myself enough time there. Hey, look at that. Instance isolated. Score is still going down. But it should be going down much lower now. Instead of losing 30 points, we should only be losing 20 points. Hey, progress. All right, great. So we've isolated it. We've actually identified the attack too, which is probably another thing that we needed to do next. But we found out that it's coming in through one of our routes, right? So again, there's a couple ways to mitigate this. Just like there were a couple ways to figure out what was going on, right? So we could have looked at the application load balancer logs. We could have looked at the VPC flow logs, for example. We ended up looking at the instance logs. It's the same kind of idea here. We've got multiple solutions, okay? So we already have an application load balancer deployed. That allows us to go edit routes on that application load balancer. You getting what I'm throwing out there, maybe? Okay. There's also a service in AWS, or just in the tech world in general as well, called a web application firewall. Yeah? So this is a layer 7 style firewall. This allows you also to do things with things like HTTP routes, right? Returning a status code, blocking a route, that type of thing. So AWS has a WAF, as people call them. We can do either one. I'm going to recommend that we check out the ALB, just because we already have that all set up, yeah? Let's go look at ALB. All right, so we already had identified our load balancer when we were looking for logs. We have this forensics load balancer. We want to stop people sending in these shell commands from that backup route, right? Is that what we agreed upon as the fix as a team? Yeah? Everybody said that. I remember everyone saying it all at once collectively. It was actually really creepy that you all did that together. It was really strange. It's like you rehearsed it. Anyway, so let's go look at the listeners and rules portion. We can add a listener. We can go look. We actually have a port 80 listener. We've got some rules. We just have a default rule, actually. We don't have anything else. But let's see what add rule does. Okay, let's say block backdoor. Wishful thinking here, you know. Magical thinking, pushing it out into the universe, making it true, maybe. All right, conditions. What condition? Hey, look at this. Hey, path. It's almost like I knew that was going to be there. It's weird. I've never done this before, by the way. I've never played this content. I've never seen it before today. Okay, so what's our path again? Somebody remind me. I can't remember. I heard it. Backdoor. All right, backdoor. Okay, so if the path is backdoor, that's what we want. We want to match. We could add another value, but we don't really need to. Oh, yeah, good question. Do we need /backdoor? I don't think we do, but maybe. Remember that philosophy I mentioned? Let's find out. Let's find out if we need it or don't, right? All right, so what do we want to do? So this is where we get into, we're talking philosophically about game day, but let's talk philosophically a minute about security, right? My background is not deep security. I am actually an engineer, a dev. I've written code most of my life. I've gotten into security in the past couple of years. Very interesting intersection that I've seen of these two. Everybody loves to throw out this, and by the time I'm done with this talk, there will be another little 3-letter thing we can add to the end of it, but there's this new intersection of DevSecOps, yeah? Which DevOps is already great because it's like, hey, we got 2 different people, let's make them 1 person now. And just, we don't have to have 2 people do it anymore. That's not DevOps, by the way. It doesn't mean you get to, just have 1 team and get rid of half the people. It's the same for DevSecOps, right? This is just kind of like an amalgamation of these words to kind of tell everybody it's your job to pay attention to this stuff, right? Even though, and I'll only pick on myself here, even though you're just like writing a bunch of code and then throwing it over the wall and saying, hey, my admin buddy, you can make this run, right? No, that's not how it should go, right? You should be involved in the operations. You should be involved in the security. You should be involved in the development. And I say that for every 3 of those teams that are there. So, speaking of, who owns this application load balancer, by the way? We're all employees now at Unicorn.Rentals. Can somebody raise their hand if they own it? Who's the service team? Oh, okay, great. I knew the service team was in here that owned that ALB. Thank you. So we could just change it, right? Oh, wow, thumbs up. Okay, this is different than most service teams I've ever worked with, by the way. This is a very flexible company. I'm liking my employment here at Unicorn.Rentals. Now, that's not true for most environments, right? You come in, you start making changes to things that you don't own, you're going to raise some alarms. You're going to raise some eyebrows, and you're going to make some enemies, probably. So, what can we do here, right? As security-minded people, we don't own the code that's running on that web server. We could go look at that code, by the way, which we might, because we haven't fully mitigated the attack yet. Even with this solution, it's not necessarily mitigating the attack. We'll get to that in a second. What happens if that backdoor wasn't written by an attacker? What happens if that was written by one of our teams? Can we just shut down this endpoint? We can, yeah. There's lots of stuff that we can do. Yeah, absolutely. I love that can-do attitude you've got. But should we? I think is the bigger question, right? And that question doesn't have a clear answer. If we shut it down, it may impact downstream things that we're unaware of. It may turn off payroll. Who knows? Who knows what that backdoor functionality is actually doing? So barring that we can't get the person, well, we do have the person in the room, but they also seem to subscribe to the YOLO method. Let's say we didn't have that person here. What could we do here that maybe doesn't necessarily fully break the downstream impact that we're not aware of? And that is, we're going to return a fixed response. Right now, we're returning a 200. I saw that in the logs, right? So if you don't believe me here, when we're looking at the logs, it was an HTTP GET, and we're turning 200. So let's just keep doing that, yeah? All right, let's block. So now I've got 2 rules. Let's see if this actually, oh, I'm going to give this priority of 1, which basically is just letting you know if you have multiple rules, which order to fire off those rules. All right, we created it. That's great. We haven't looked at the, oh, whew, yeah, 800 points. Whoa, negative, sorry. Got excited there. Now I'm going to tell you this too. That blocked the attack vector, but our website is still encrypted, isn't it? Yeah. All right, let's fix that now. So we had that auto-scaling group that we were talking about, yeah? And I told you this is kind of like a little helper wrapper that spins up new EC2 instances when it detects whatever you tell it is wrong, right? So if you need to scale out, so you could set something like CPU usage. If CPU usage of an EC2 instance gets to 75%, great, spin up a new one, right? Automatically. I don't have to do it. That's what auto-scaling groups do for us. But we have a bunch of instances that are running, two in fact, that are encrypted. What's great though about auto-scaling groups is that they are working off of a launch template or a launch configuration. So we can actually see the details. This is just telling us that they, at Unicorn.Rentals, are using an outdated version. Surprise. So we can actually go in and see well, it didn't take me there. Well, 1 second. I'm going to view launch configurations. I can actually see what's going on in here too. What's happening? How is this getting launched? All right. Sorry. Okay. So we've got our launch configuration here. It's got an AMI, which is a machine image that it's launching off of. I can come down here. I can see there's user data. Oh, this is like an install script. Okay. So it's actually pulling down something and starting it with Python. Okay, cool. I'm going to show you, though, how to mitigate this. We had those instances. We're just going to terminate those instances since they're encrypted. We're going to detach, and we're going to make sure that button's clicked, replace instance, because that's just going to take that little script that I just showed you, that launch configuration. It's going to make new EC2 instances. And those ones aren't encrypted. Hey, is the attack gone? No, right? Because those instances still have that /backdoor route. Now, we've blocked it at the ALB level, so people can no longer send those commands in, so they won't be able to re-encrypt our website. However, should you run any type of code that has an active vulnerability on it? Not if you can avoid it, right? Sometimes you can't avoid that. We can avoid that in this case. We don't have time, I believe, in this talk to go through the actual mitigation, right? So we got things back up and running, and I'm buying time to see all of the things start to get restored here. It's going to take a few minutes, but we didn't actually fully mitigate this attack. We got things back up. We mitigated the attack through one vector, but we should not leave the code that's running that backdoor on that server. And currently it still is, right? So an exercise for maybe you all, since you all have access to these environments, each of your own, right? Maybe you can go in there and figure out, where is that code? How do I replace it? Can I get rid of that backdoor? It's up to you. All right. So let's see how things are going. I'm going to go check out. That should have spun up some new instances. Oh yeah, look at that. We've got stuff. We've got stuff spinning up. Now, in any good forensics analysis, you might notice we've got 4 instances running now, right? 2 of those instances are new, and they're in that auto-scaling group, and they're behind that load balancer. 2 of those instances are the encrypted ones. This was something, my instinct as a non-security person back in the day was, well, I got to get rid of those. You don't want to do that. Don't delete. Never delete when you are working against an active attack. Don't delete any of this, right? Isolate, things like that, right? Like what we did with the security group, isolate, because you want to keep these resources around for either your team or whatever team handles forensics after the fact, the post-mortem. They're going to want to go and research what happened here, right? So if you delete everything, it's gone. They can't do any research. So keep that in mind. We're going to keep these instances around. We don't have to keep them running. We can actually go in and just, if we go to instance state, we can stop the instance, but we do not want to terminate the instance. That's the big thing I want to call out to all of you in case you hadn't worked in forensics before. Don't delete things. Don't terminate. Just stop. Okay. Let's see how it should be getting pretty close. We can go look at our load balancer. Let's see if we can get that. Well, they gave us a, still says no. Hey, you know, live demos. This is, oh, but look. Hey, that doesn't look encrypted, does it? This is incredibly valuable information, by the way. This is very important to have up on the internet. Oh, no pictures. No pictures? It's only on the public internet. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so yeah, this was what we were trying to restore this whole time. We were losing hundreds of points, right, which are how you get paid as a new Unicorn.Rentals employee. I didn't mention that up front, did I? We all now each owe $910 to Unicorn.Rentals because I took so long. So I will be waiting at the back to collect on behalf. I'll make sure it gets to the right place, I promise. All right. I don't know if we're going to see it actually switch over or not. Sometimes we have some issues. But we got that attack neutralized. We got the website restored, even though GameDay is telling us no. It's fine. But yeah, so we went from this to this with some steps in between. All right, so to wrap things up, right, what did we learn today? 1, that you all can come in for the next couple hours. I told you, we've got a vulnerability management quest, a data classification and protection, and a credentials management quest as well that you can come in and do on your own. You can also work through, if you didn't alongside me, the forensics analysis quest too. This will be up for a few hours, you know, go through lunch, whatever. Take some time if you want to. Highly encourage it. Let me put the link back up just in case you didn't get it. And we learned that experiential learning, actually doing the thing, it can be really challenging to get into an environment where you are enabled to do the thing, right? So this is a pretty unique experience. This is why I go around and talk about this so much, because I didn't tell you much about my background. I told you I was an engineer, like coder. Before that, I was a 4th grade elementary school teacher, actually. Yeah, pretty wild. Can you imagine this shirt in a classroom? No. So learning, teaching, these are all very important things to me. Well, yes, I can imagine it in a classroom too. Just not maybe as visible. Definitely mentally there. But yes, so learning and teaching are very important things to me, and this is one of the best ways that I've seen. So go check it out. I really appreciate you all coming and joining me. I'll see you around.